Hi, my name is Elizabeth Rodwell, and I teach usability at the University of Houston. What is UX? You might have heard of usability before. You might have heard it through one of its other related terms, human-centered design. And you might have heard it by looking at some of the numerous job ads that are trying to get usability people to come to work for them. So there are two areas of UX. There's the research and there's the design side. And I specialize in the research side. We go out and we collect information on what people want and how they use products, and we bring it to the designers. And a user experience designer then takes that information and translates it into visual interfaces. So they'll actually make the thing look good. And then I go back and I test it with people to make sure that the product actually works the way we intended. So there's some overlap with, at this point, computer science. We see human factors engineering over in there. There's overlap with psychology, and there's overlap with anthropology. So all of the social sciences, and you might have taken a social science related class in high school, really feed into the kinds of things that we talk about in my classes. So if you had something, a class where you talked about culture, that affects usability too. People use products differently in different parts of the world. So you can't just make a product that's going to be used one way for the US and for people in Brazil or China. Some of the basic research methods that we use include personas. So personas are really sketches of the kind of person who's going to use a product. So it could be somebody like me. It could be somebody like you. Maybe the persona is, let's say, 35-year-old female who's looking for information on healthcare. That person has a family and wants to make sure they're all covered, and they need to know how to get to that information quickly. So your job is to make sure that they can find the info they need and not be frustrated. And you have to make an app for it. So that app needs to work, and it needs to deliver that info quickly. Or maybe you're trying to get people to find information on how to register for a COVID vaccination. Great, right? You make an app. You're Harris County in Houston. You make an app. People are supposed to download that app. That's the first problem. How do you get everybody to download it? You need to know what your users are thinking, which means talking to people in Houston. Then once they're there, you need them to be able to find where that vaccination is happening, find whether they're qualified to take it, and be able to sign up if they are. Another one we use is the very fancy sounding, but genuinely really simple heuristic evaluations. So this basically is going through and testing a site yourself or an app, and you're writing down what's wrong with it. We can all do this. We all think horrible things about products as we're using them all the time. We have apps that we love and apps that we've downloaded and tried to use and that have infuriated us and been frustrating and gotten deleted about 5 minutes after we installed them. And users are not forgiving. So if we try something and it doesn't work, it takes a lot to get us to try it again. This is the case with not just apps, of course, but software. If we hate a piece of software and find it unusable, it's going to take a lot to get us to say, sure, there's a new version. Let me try it again with my valuable time. I've had people in my classes who have been in focus groups, and we've recreated them in the classroom. So we've done, you're helping to give your insight on a new product type of focus groups. We've had, here's an app, give us your thoughts and feelings in a group type of focus groups. If you ever get a chance to participate in one of these, in my class or somewhere else, they're pretty fun. UX people love Post-it notes. We stick them everywhere. We use them to plan all sorts of aspects of the user interface and the navigation for systems. But the main thing that we do in our line of work is we do usability testing. We actually test out these products and systems we create on people. So we have you come in and we say, here's a new app. It's going to come out in the marketplace in 6 months. Try it. Tell us what you think. Can you find this information or that? Or can you find nothing? Does it fail? I have tested so many different types of apps and systems over the years with people, and most of them aren't very good when we start out, but they get better because we test them. We don't just release them out into the market. If you don't test, you release a bad product and then you have to fix it. Plus, people aren't going to give you that second chance. We talk about design thinking in my classes, which is one of the coolest areas in tech right now. You see it in every company I've ever interfaced with. They hold design thinking workshops. They talk about it. They send people to conferences about it. This is really people learning to think about creativity in a new way, and it intersects with usability because it helps us to think about usability in different ways too. So we do design thinking workshops and strategizing in my classrooms. Why does a trash can have to look like a round object, for example? Not every company's thought so. So that's where we get the really expensive OXO ones. They thought differently about trash cans after having sessions like these. When you think about things that are usable, what do you think about in the world of technology? Is it your phone? Is your phone by itself really usable? What about that piece of technology makes you happy to use? What about it makes it addictive? Because we're all clearly addicted to our phones, right? When was the last time you got in an elevator and didn't look at your phone? When was the last time you were able to walk across a parking lot and not check your phone? Can you make it through a whole class without checking your phone? These are part of what we talk about in usability. We talk about what makes things appealing psychologically to people and drives them to return to them over and over and over again. So yeah, your phone might be a great example. iPads are too. I remember people didn't think those were going to be successful, but Apple had done a lot of usability testing. And they've been doing it since the early days of the OS. They came out with some of the first metaphors in the world of operating systems that were really effective. So they came up with the concept of the desktop. They thought people would more easily accept a user interface if it resembled and used metaphors from things in their everyday lives. So we all are familiar with the top of a desk. They wanted to make it kind of look like and act like the top of a physical desk. So a trash can for where you throw your files. It's kind of brilliant, actually. Like, where are you going to put your files if you don't want them anymore? A trash can or a recycling bin. So that's the first one. But just being able to move things around on your desktop is like how you use a physical desktop in person, and they got that really early. So they're one of the real pioneers in this kind of thinking. But now they're not alone. There are so many companies out there that are doing really brilliant thinking about usability. So if you want to know what makes my fridge a horrible thing, for example, my refrigerator, the worst case of usability I have seen in a very long time, you should come study usability with me.